This is Damian Macy, representing the Friends of the Marshall Public Library. As a part of our oral history project, I have with us Dan Harper. And he's with us on Wednesday, September 11th. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dan. Can you just tell about your family, where you were born, and your siblings?
All right. I was born May 18th, 1954 in Terre Haute, Indiana. My parents are Daniel L. Harper. I'm Daniel A. My mom, Mary F., her maiden name's Snedeker. And my brothers, I have an older brother, Jim Harper, which lives in Brownsburg, Indiana. He's a minister, basically, missionary. My sister Jenny lives here in town, which she's retired from being a principal down at South Elementary.
Was your grandfather's name also Dan Harper?
Howard.
Okay.
Well, my dad's dad was Howard Harper.
Okay.
Which,
I knew him and my dad were kind of contemporaries, and I remember him.
well, basically, he was
Yeah, DX.
in the DX business. He started, I think, around 1925, working for, I don't know who he worked for. I can get you the name. But yeah, he delivered DX Petroleums. And I think in 1944, he bought that guy that he worked for out in 1944. Or 1941.
Okay.
And then Dad started with him. I think he was even in high school, right after high school, which that would have been, he was born in 31, so what would that be? 51? No, 49. 49. So I think that's when Dad started in the DX Petroleum, which Dad in 59, he built that gas station.
I'm gonna ask about that.
Down there on the point from Route 1 and South 6. He built that in 59.
Was there any building there before?
Yes, he tore that down. I remember I would have been, 6, 5? Yeah. But he tore that down, and he had a bus there. He stayed in business while he was tore it down and rebuilt. Had a bus there. They operated out of a bus. Yeah, I think it took him about a year. I have a picture of that when it was built. Would that
Sure.
work?
Oh, yeah. My dad owned a grain elevator in Martinsville, and he had a gas pump in front. And I remember your grandfather serving that station with DX gas. And that was in the late 40s or early 50s.
Yeah, then after that, Dad got drafted and had to go to Korea. And I think in 51, sometime in 1951. And then my brother Jim was born in July of 52. He was over in Korea when Jim was born. On that. Then I was born in 54, and my sister was born in 1960. So then Dad got back. He was still working for his dad till I think, I was in the 60s. Well, clear up into the 70s. He was a DX dealer, petroleum dealer.
Okay.
And, but 1963, he bought the Coal and Coal building where our store was. That's where I sold to Adam Thompson here this year. Dad didn't go up there. My uncle Gene Pantley ran it till 1967. I don't know. I can't really get into what happened. But he came up in 67, still with DX, but the tar store. and it was a Firestone store. And back then, see, Firestone, there was one in Paris, there was my dad's, and they sold tires, brown goods, which was TVs, and white goods, which was appliances. And that was, everybody asked, well, how did you get TVs and tires together? But that's how, because Firestone, it was a Firestone affiliated store.
Was that like a franchise?
Yes, yes. And that's how I got into electronics. I did the electronics part when Dad was alive. On that for, geez, a long time. I think we sold and serviced TVs, cameras, VCRs. I think VCRs came out in 1978. We sold VCR, first one we sold to was to Jim Forsythe, $1,000 for one VCR. It wasn't even remote control. It had the mechanical tuners.
Did that have the tape, the 8-track tape? Or the full?
It was the VHS format. There was two formats.
Yeah.
You had the Beta, which was by Sony. Then the other was VHS.
Okay.
The one we sold both, but the first one we sold was the VHS.
Okay.
Of course, those were a bear to work on because you had electronics and mechanics working together, trying to get them all to work together.
And did they always work together?
No, they didn't work together. But at that time, when they were that expensive, it was worth repairing. Today, you don't repair electronics, TVs. Well, you don't even have VCRs anymore. And TVs are throwaway items.
I've got a VCR.
Does it still work?
Oh, yeah.
Does it really?
Yep.
But that's, so you could go out to Walmart and buy a 50, 60 inch for under $300. We sold in the 70s, which I started in 1973 working for Dad. We sold 25-inch consoles for $800 to $1,000.
That was not a really outstanding
And
pricing.
they, I just had a TV. Randy Nicholson, you know Randy?
Mm-hmm.
This was probably this last fall, a year ago. I was up his house, sold him a 25-inch Zenith TV, not one service call, and it was still working over 25 years and still looked good. Now, I don't know if it's going now, but when I was up there, it was over 25 years, not one service call.
Of course, that was a Zenith name.
Yes,
For
Zenith.
dependability. They
Yes. were
a little pricier than everything else, I think.
Yeah, but
that-
they were good
lasted.
on that.
Now, don't you have to put an adapter or something on that now because of the transmission?
The digital, yes, you
Yeah,
have to
right.
have a
That's
converter.
what I thought.
Of course, probably, see, the digital first came out, what, 2007, 2008? Basically, when not much was out, but that's when it originally came out. And see, all the frequencies changed and all that, antennas changed, and,
And business had to change too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But let's see, 73 I got there, then 86 when Deb and I took over the business basically. Dad was still there. The sales tax was in my name and my wife's, Deb. And I think in 1981, 82, we built the store where Bill King is. Well, you were there in 81, 82. And sold TVs and white goods.
Was that the basic reason I guess the idea of building that building was for the TV?
Yes, yeah. And we were thinking computers were just starting.
Yeah.
what was it, that Mac or something, I can't think of it, but matter of fact, I had when digital came out, I had to go back to school at Ivy Tech for digital because I went to Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a year for electronics. It was in avionics, but that's electronics. So that's where I got started in electronics. Of course, when Dad died, I always said I was going to get rid of the tire business, but couldn't. So that's when 1996, Dad had to leave the store in June of 1996, and that's when my wife, Deb, she was worked for Charlotte as a realtor, salesman, and she left Charlotte and came to work for me. Of course, I had to have her, I had to have her. I couldn't do the books and all that. And of course, right before Dad passed, he said, "Love to see you and get a computer and get the business on a computer." And we, I don't know if we made it or not, but of course now,
You got to have one of those little things over there.
you can't do business without computers. And now, see, back then we didn't have internet. Internet came out in 98?
Probably about
And that was all through the phone lines. It mainly was email, But today, you don't survive. When the internet's down, the business is down. I mean, everything we did when we quit was through the internet, computers.
And the same with electricity. If it goes down, stores can't even check out.
Oh yeah.
Doors don't open.
You have to shut down.
Yeah,
It's a different world. I can remember when I first started, we sold a set of tires to Jim Kuykendall. He worked for the railroad. I think he made $50 a day, which was really good money.
What?
This was like probably 73, 74. And the set of tires cost $200. And I looked at Dad and said, "That is crazy, See, I didn't even make $100 a week. I didn't. And now, you can't hardly buy a tire for $200.
What?
One. Is that crazy? But, everything goes up. But,
In the change of times and all, have you found a major change in the tire business in addition to the electronics?
yes.
Or is it pretty much stable?
Well, when I was first in, they didn't have a radial tire. They were just buy as fly. And you saw customers every year. You got 15,000 miles out of them. Now, radials, of course there's different versions of radials, but a good set of radials, you can get 60,000 miles out of a tire. So that kind of put the hurts, because the tire business was very, very competitive back then, and still
I
is.
think it is.
Now people buy tires online, Damien. They do.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And sometimes, of course, a lot of people price, and they just want the cheapest tire, and they can buy them cheaper than I can. And that's tough,
gosh, yes.
That's tough competition. But we always average. What were we averaging when we quit? I'm trying to think. Geez, that's just been 6 months. I think 150 a month tires, average. So, and of course we still had, towards the end, I didn't do any service business, so that was our main income. Did a little antenna work and dish, but the last 5 years didn't do dish, or direct TV. Didn't do any, we got out of the TV repair business in 2004.
Is there such a thing as a repair business on TVs anymore?
Not really.
I didn't think so.
No, really. It's like, now if you buy a high-end Sony, you know, like, let's say 80-inch, 90-inch, you know, that would, now those can run $3,000 or $4,000. So I reckon you can have to service those, wouldn't you?
I would think so, but I don't know. Everything's disposable anymore.
Yeah. Well, usually anything, 60-inch down, just throw away.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's a throwaway world, but I don't know if that's not good or bad, but where's all this stuff go, you know, in the landfills?
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember you were talking about the tires extending long. It was a few years ago. I got a new set of Michelin tires from you.
Yeah, Michelin, in my opinion, was
And
the best.
well, we kept the car for a while, but then sold it. I think it had 45 or 50,000 miles on those tires, and they still looked like brand new
Yeah.
when we sold the car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Michelin, you paid for them.
Oh, yeah.
But you got your money's worth, you know. Probably in the long run, they were cheaper,
Yeah.
you know, really in the long run.
Now, with the tire business, do you have to get I guess a licensing agreement or something with the manufacturer in order to sell those various tires?
We always worked through a distributor
Oh, okay.
from St. Louis. Well, first it was Bennett Tire from Windsor, Illinois. That's back when they're Cooper tires.
Okay.
Did that then. When they went out of business, we started dealing with a place in St. Louis. I mean, big. They sell, I don't know, they'll do several million tires in a quarter. So, and they delivered the tires to us at no charge every day. Wow. Yeah, every day from St. Louis, we got tires.
Are they
So
still
I didn't
maintaining that benefit?
Oh, yeah,
They're
yeah.
still doing it.
See, hey, when this is an interesting thing. When I first started, there were 7 different sizes for cars and light pickups. 7 different sizes. So we could stock 3 or 4 different brands of the whole size. When we quit, there's over 220 sizes. You know, of course, we can't stock that. Don't have the room, don't have the money. Didn't have the money. But these people would deliver every day. So if I had, and most people didn't need tires that day.
Wait a while.
And we had stock, you know, the most important, the fast movers. But if we ordered them like today, we'd have them tomorrow morning.
Wow.
Yeah. Did that for 20 years.
With the modern changes and all of this transition of new things, what is the disposition of old tires?
Disposition of old cars.
How do you get rid of them?
Well, you find a scrapper.
Really? Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the, you know, and there are some scrappers around that will do it, you know. But you could take, is there any junk yards anymore? I saw that place in West Terre Haute, that's all cleaned up. Did you notice that?
I know, it was closed down. It was at Sugar Creek.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hey, just getting rid of TV's a problem.
I was
You
gonna ask about
you
those.
can't throw TVs in your trash. Well, you're not supposed to. Yeah. But they charge you. You know, it's according what size it is, but probably minimum is $25.
Even Goodwill now has a charge on TV.
Now, do they still take TVs?
I guess so. The last time I was, it's been a long time.
But
If
it
they
costs
still
them
have
to
signed
get
up,
it costs them to get rid of them
I
now.
guess so.
So, yeah, that's a problem. Of course, like you said, everything's changed, and I'm getting outdated. It was time.
We all are.
I'm 70 years old.
I was just a kid.
I worked 50 years and 3 months and some odd days at the store. After Dad died, he died in what, January 1st of 97, I didn't take a week's vacation, I think, for 20 years. Now we would, we would take long weekends when it was holiday on Monday. We would do that, but it was, yeah. But it didn't really bother me. It really didn't.
I guess
That
that's
was
where
my
the old
life.
family business is so stable, and that doesn't happen much anymore, I'm afraid.
No, well, we don't have them.
No.
Downtown. I can remember downtown. We had everything downtown. Of course, we know what happened when Walmart came. That's our only place to shop. You know it.
Even for groceries now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Thinking back when you were a youngster, I guess, do you remember things about your school?
Yeah.
Where you went and...
I do remember. Of course, I went for kindergarten. I went to the Ohio building. Had Mrs. Conemacher.
Mm-hmm.
My Aunt Vera Bennett, she was there.
Okay.
That was Dad's sister.
Yeah.
Cass Bennett's wife. And then I went to the new South Elementary for first, second, and third. We lived out in the country then. And for some reason, my fourth and fifth grade, they shipped me, and this was mainly for town kids, the old school, where OT lives, Elmer Schaller lives.
The old
What was
North
that?
Side School?
Yeah, the old North Side School. I went there, my fourth and fifth grade had Mrs. Kuhn and Mrs. Baker. Kuhn was fourth grade, and Baker was fifth. Then after that, they shipped me back down. I was in the old South, which it was still connected to the new part. I went to that. And of course, see, they didn't even have the new North Side then. I don't know what year that was. That built? Was that built in the early 70s?
Probably so.
Uh-huh.
It was probably at least in the 70s somewhere, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I went 4 years to the old North Side School.
Did you really?
I remember that very
Now,
well.
were you born here?
Yeah.
All right.
Went the first 4 years to there, and then we moved to Martinsville. So I remember the old North Side School very well.
Yeah, I do too. I remember Mrs. Irwin was there,
Yeah.
a sixth grade teacher. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any, I guess, zap memories of things that were particular, memorable to you from there?
Well, I can remember, I don't know if I should say this, but I was acting up on the playground,
Oh, boss.
And Mrs. Irwin was the playground teacher or whatever, and we had the girls' side and the boys' side, did they have that when you were there?
Not too much, no, but
And I acted up, and Miss Irwin grabbed my ear and said, "You're going with me." And I went to the girls' side. Of course, you couldn't get away with that today. Of course, back then, that's just the way it was. I got a whipping at school. I got one at home.
Sure.
And now you can't get a whipping at school.
I don't know if they can even correct you about something. I mean, it's getting so liberal anymore.
That's scary.
It is.
It's probably why we got so many prisons. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's just my opinion. I don't know if that's true, but...
So do you remember your high school days?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I played football. Remember my coaches. Coach Cargill. Remember him?
No, because I went to high school in
Koenig.
I knew some of the teachers.
Coach Koenig. I remember. Mr. Jim Gwynn was music teacher.
Yeah.
Bob Morris was my math.
Okay.
Dave Inkoff was math.
I knew all that.
Mrs. Thornersberg was English.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Elliott was English. Mr. McNary, remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't like to go see him very often.
Sure not.
That's when they paddled you hard. Bob Thompson, which he was principal, I liked shop, real well. And by golly, if he ran strict class in shop. If you said one cuss word, you got a whack. You know, he got the paddle out, and he had a big one. And really, he went to the room and he'd give you a paddle and one whack.
You remember that? You know, it happens once too. Doesn't it?
Yeah, you're right. Just happened once. On that, let's see. Truman Spittler.
Oh yeah.
You know, he had the ag department. Gene Boland, he just died. He was a shop man.
Okay.
Who else? Mr. Heine.
Yeah.
Mrs. Girdler, she was an art teacher.
I don't remember. I didn't know her.
Uh-huh. Oh, who was the reception gal? Sister, there was siblings there. One was a teacher and she was a reception. You know, when you walked in the front, there was a counter there. What was her name? Really liked her. Her sister was I think, an English teacher.
And not knowing, going to school there, all these other names I remember.
How about J.R. Hornbrook?
Oh yes.
See, I was, out of each class, he always took two guys, back when I was in school, you know, got in the photography room.
Oh.
I really loved that guy. He was sharp cookie. He always had that, what do you call it, slide rule? He could do anything with that slide rule what you could do with a computer. I mean, quick.
Probably the same amount of time.
Yeah, he was sharp cookie. Really liked him. Really liked him. Oh, who was Mrs. Gardner was a.
Yeah, remember?
I never did have Mr. Callis, but he was a chemistry. I didn't take chemistry on that, but.
Looking back, is there anything you could say, boy, I wished I had either done or taken class or something?
I wish I would have, yes, I still regret this, would have got a bachelor's degree, you know, in college. Instead. Basically, not even associate, but I got, 2 or 3 years in, but I don't have that piece of paper, and I regret not getting that. Of course, back then, the college degree really meant something. Today, it costs so much to have a college degree.
In some of the services, the income can be just as much for owning an electrical shop or plumbing.
You get into the unions, they pay for your everything. And they when you get done today, I think like an electrician or any of the
Price is way up there.
$65 an hour.
That's too much.
Now I don't think they receive all that in their check because a lot of it goes into health and benefits, your retirement, vacation.
But those are nice too.
Yeah. See, when you're in business for yourself, which you had to pay that yourself.
Your own pocket.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, never did have that. But our deal, it wasn't a get-rich deal, but it was a good living, comfortable,
And looking back, do you ever say, I wish I had not gone into the family business and gone some other direction?
I've thought about it. I could have gone to the union, like the carpenters or electrician. But, I worked with my dad for 22 years and we had our different opinions, but looking back, it was good times. And when I worked at the store, see, Mom just lived down the street, right across from Benny Myers Funeral Home.
Yeah.
I ate lunch with her for 40 years. She made me lunches.
Wow.
Just walked down there every day, Monday through Friday. And I didn't realize how good I had it till when she passed. Now the last couple, good lunches.
And there's nothing like Mom's home cooking.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that the truth? And they were good meals, not just a bologna and cheese sandwich. A meal.
Sure.
Now the last couple of years, right before we had to put her in the nursing home, They were a little iffy, but that's all right. It got me out of the store too, for 30 minutes.
Sure.
You know, because I'd go to the store. Well, the last 20 years, I'd be at the store at 5, and I'd leave at 6.
A long day.
Mm-hmm. I worked 65, 70 hours a week. But I couldn't hard done, you know. If you heard all that done, I couldn't have made a living, you
Well,
know.
who looked after the shop when you were down at Mom's having lunch?
Well, Deb, then when I got back, Deb
Okay.
left. And I always had a tire guy, you know, helping me.
Okay.
And I did have 2 tire guys when I still did, you know, like Dish Network, Direct, and antenna work. You know, which that got me, you know, in the afternoons I would go out and do that. Deb would be at the store, answering the phone, taking care of things, and we still the tires, keep the tires going. But
Have things changed a lot in the tire business?
wheels have, you know, the equipment. Some of these wheels are $1,000 a piece. And if you scratch one, you bought one, you know? And of course we had insurance, but the deductible was $1,000, you know? You know how insurance is. But yeah, in that kind of way, you know, the equipment. And hey, every 5 years we like to change to keep up so we didn't have problems. You know, and balancers, I can remember when we first started, remember the bubble balancer? You know, just put it on there and there was a bubble there in the center. You center it, put the weight, and that's how you balance them. Now it's all computer. It tells you everything. You put it on, spins it, everything. It tells you. Only thing it doesn't do is put the weights on yet. And that probably will happen. But hey, of course, there wasn't too many people in this area that could repair them, so you had to get somebody like Coates. That was our main tire machine, and they'd come from Indianapolis. $500 just for them to drive here. So you didn't want problems. And the thing is, if it's not going, you're shut down. You're shut down because couldn't afford 2. And the shop wasn't that big, you know, it's just a 1-bay shop on that. Didn't do any mechanical work really. At one time we did do oil changes. But when the EPA got involved, wanting to know all that, well, yeah, we called her quits.
Kind of switch over to the other side of the business, this TV thing. It's changed so much.
Yes.
I keep seeing now TVs advertised sometimes 75, 80, 90 inches. What's the limit of those things?
I don't know. That's almost reality size, you know, it really is.
And you have to have a big room to put them in.
Well, yeah, you would. Of course, they measure them diagonal, you know, but 90 inch. But those TVs are expensive. They aren't throwaway items. And you don't see too many of those, you know. Maybe Sony builds some. Samsung might build some.
Is
Vizio, but
is all TV production anymore foreign?
yeah, there's basically 2 companies. There's one company that makes all the glass, and one company that makes all the electronics. There's just 2. But like, let's say Sony, there's a certain tolerance on parts. I bet, you know, and that's how they get, you know, your cheaper TVs. The tolerance are a lot bigger, you know. Than like Sony, there's not much tolerance. They got to be right on, or they don't get put in that TV. So that's where the difference is.
Oh, okay.
But there's 2 companies that does all the electronics and the glass, which the glass I'm talking about the picture, you know.
Now going back to this point we were talking about earlier, I remember Zenith and Magnavox and Philco and General Electric and all.
Yeah.
Or was it the fact of changing technology? really wipe them out?
Well,
Or just foreign competition?
yeah, probably foreign competition because there's not Zenith anymore. I think LG actually bought them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, foreign, and they did a lot cheaper, you know, did them a lot cheaper. Let's see here. That's when I started. They still had, they call them Harper chassis, which was the high voltage area was tubes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Then the RF part was semiconductors, transistors, and ICs, chips. You know, when I first started. And those sets with the high voltage tubes, it would go like 28,000 volts would go into that picture tube. 28,000 volts.
That's a shocker.
Oh, I've been shocked by it. But it was real low current.
Yeah.
Real low current. And they sucked energy. You know, they did.
I'll bet.
And I probably worked on those, they called them hybrids. Oh, probably 4 or 5 years, 10 years, you know, until they were all completely gone. Then it was all transistors, modules. One time it was all the sets were modular where you have I went to the house to work on TVs.
House call.
Yeah, I did. And that was almost all of them. But that's back when they were hybrids where you could change a tube in the high voltage, or you could change a module, you know, like audio, video module, you know. And you don't go to the component level of fixing them. You change the whole circuitry. And it was a quick fix. A little expensive, but a quick fix. Now towards the end, when we, probably the last 5 or 10 years, then it was all component. You had to find the component. It was just one big board. Everything was soldered in. You didn't, you know. And that's when you had to find the component. That was where the problem was to repair them. And now you don't repair them.
Mm-hmm. Are there still tubes made?
Yes. Especially, well, you know, big tubes. You know, these like Channel 2, Channel 10, and Channel 38 TV stations. They use tubes for transmitters.
Well, I thought they were used for something, but I wasn't sure.
They're expensive. I mean, they're big. They're expensive. I mean, of course, like, I think 38, that's high in frequency. And I don't hold me to this, but you're talking over $25,000 for a tube.
Ooh.
Nah, they're probably higher now. But
That's not just a little
think
thing you stick in the
I don't.
chassis.
It's not a little one. It's a big
Big
one.
one.
Like that's a lot of power.
Oh, yeah.
See those towers down there at Farmersburg. What are they? 1,500 feet?
Oh, I think so.
They're up there, or are they thousand? A couple thousand? I don't know.
I don't know. They're way up there. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't climb that. I used to climb towers, but 50 feet. I didn't climb like anything over 50 feet. Of course, you die at 10 feet if you fall.
Wow. Does the television industry continue, you think, to change because there's been dish and there's cable and all these things that just seem to kind of move along with, there's always something new.
You know what all TVs are now? Smart TVs, you know. They're computers.
Yeah.
That's where you can, you know, internet, you can watch all your TV through the internet now. You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah. I guess
Do you stream? They call that streaming?
No.
Well,
I'm old fashioned.
I don't do much streaming either. Now my kids do. You know, really, if I was still in business, I could make a fortune in the antenna business because everybody wants their locals.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can't get your locals streaming. You can, but you have to pay for them. You know? So you can, but nobody does it. I still get calls on antenna work. I'll help them out and all that, but nobody does it. Nobody.
Right.
A guy tried to he called me to change an antenna on a 50-foot tower this spring. And I did it, and he said, I looked for months, and he found a guy in Michigan from Michigan to come down and do it. Is that crazy?
It is.
So a guy can make, I don't know, probably a decent living just doing antenna work. They're still Dish and Direct, but like Direct, they topped out at 26 million customers 3 years ago. They're down to 11 million now in 3 years. Dish topped out 15 million customers, and they're down to around 7. So you know why? Streaming, internet. And these kids, they like streaming.
Uh-huh.
So now Direct and Dish, they have their own internet deal. Like Dish has Sling, which is streaming, and Direct has their streaming too. So one of these days, you probably won't see these dishes. Or see, the big C-band dish, the big ones, 10 feet. It came out, in the early 80s?
Yeah, you had this pretty good sized yard and place to put those things.
But back then you could get everything for free.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
We started doing the C-band in 1984. Took about 2 days to do it. You had to dig a big hole and run the wire, and over $3,000. Over $3,000. And people did that.
Oh, yeah.
But then when the little dishes came out, that of course killed I don't even know if they use C-band dishes now or not.
I don't really recall seeing any around at all.
You didn't know,
There
you
may be
don't.
some
Yeah.
older ones that
They use it as a bird bath. But so I've seen a lot of changes in electronics just because of computers, computers and internet.
What you're saying, Dan, is still continuing to change.
Oh yeah.
And I think
what will be next? I don't know, but it will be something
scary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I think the internet's going to be the ruination of this world. I really do. That's my opinion,
But industry, businesses and all anymore, so much of it is computerized.
Yeah, everything.
And that's not going to change, I don't think at all.
No.
Even now these stores with self-checkout, who'd ever thought of that a few years ago?
Do you do that?
No.
I don't either. I don't know if I can. I'd have to have somebody there to help me.
Welcome to the club.
So I always still go to somebody that can check me out. Now my kids don't. They do their own. I think my wife Deb, she does her own sometimes.
You mentioned your children. What year were you married, and then a little bit about your children and your family?
All right. I have 2 daughters. One's Mandy Stafford. She's a speech language pathologist. She teaches down at Robinson.
Oh.
Then I have Mallory Mason, which is Alex, the mowing guy, landscaper and all that, Alex Mason. She's a speech language pathologist too. She got her master's. You have to have your master's for that. She got her master's at St. Louis University, and Mandy got her master's at ISU. They both went to ISU for their undergrad. Now Mallory, she went to the medical part for the first 10 years, or more, probably longer than that, 12, 13. But that's, it's a lot more money, but a lot more stress,
Mm-hmm.
So now she's here in Marshall at the school. She goes to South, North, and junior high. I think, who'd she take? A Goodman place on that.
With that kind of background of what they do in their teaching, do you have to watch how you say things?
Well, they don't correct me. So no, they don't do it to me, but I think they like their jobs, and of course they get the summer off, which is nice, especially when you have young kids, you know, you can be around your kids.
I guess education has changed so much too, though. These other changes we're talking about, have they gotten, I guess you'd say, flustered or anything with the discipline and the changes?
Oh yeah, and see, I think every 2 years they got to have continuing ed, which that costs you, you know. On that, yeah, it's a different world teaching. Back when we were, you know, like I said, I got in trouble at school, I got in trouble at home. And that, I don't know which was worse, probably at home.
With your retirement now, have you found plenty of things to keep you busy?
Yes, you know what I'm doing? Remember Lyle Smith's place on 14th and Hickory? Mm-hmm. The round corner, Lyle Smith, that flat roof house, and he had a tree growing through the Thunderbird down there. Steve Crumrin owned that. He inherited everything from Lyle. And that got condemned by the city here it'll be 2.5, 3 years ago. And Steve slapped that letter on my desk to take care of this, Dan. I said, get your checkbook out. We tore down 5 buildings. It was a mess. You remember it? Do you remember it? We tore down took out 5 buildings.
You didn't find any rat's nests either, did you?
Well, you know what we took out of the house? 15,000 books. They're all in storage. 15,000 books. We spent $1,000 on boxes to put these books in. Took a month to get them out. And we took out over 2,000 albums and records. He has them in storage.
Those are collectible anymore too.
I'm sure if a guy had time to go through them, now some of them weren't in very good shape, some were, but we found a magazine when Kennedy got shot. Life, is it Life? Was it
Life.
Or Time?
It was a Life and Look both.
All right.
Life probably.
Found that. Oh, found some newspaper articles about who was the gangster? Al Capone, you know, newspaper. That was what, in the 40s?
Oh,
or
yeah.
20s?
20s, I think.
Yeah, a
30s.
newspaper, something like that. It was really some interesting things. I'm sure some stuff got thrown away that shouldn't have. But we went through 20 roll-offs.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a mess. You had to drive by there. But that's my project for now. You know, that was originally that was a flat roof. Now it has, he put trusses on it when he added that one addition in the early 70s.
Okay.
We took that flat roof out. And now all that's exposed is the trusses. There was poles everywhere, columns everywhere, you know. I gutted it, everything. I'm in the process of getting it.
I was going to say, there's no one living there yet, is
Oh,
there?
no, nobody could live there.
I didn't think so.
Nobody. This be a 2-year project for me. I'm not in any hurry. You know. Of course, I got into something a little more than what I thought I was getting into. I got to have it's concrete floor, everything's concrete. You got to have all new plumbing. So I'm going to be, of course, I can do it myself, cutting concrete and jackhammer, you know. I'm 70 years old, I might have to need some help on that. But that's my project.
Okay.
There's a 2-story garage too. My wife's, we do still sell joint internet.
Oh, yeah.
It's wireless. Of course, the new system's on the tower, which works really good. Of course,
On the tower.
Water tower.
Oh, okay.
Of course, when fiber came, we've been with joint since it started.
Yeah.
You know who started that?
No idea.
You remember the minister, Howard Johnson's dad? He Benny Johnson, son, graduate from Rose Holman, started this joint, internet, in 2000. See, it just started. And that's when we became a dealer. And we've been with them for 24 years. Of course, you know, we get residuals. If the customers, each month when the customer's there, and when we sell one, we get commission. So now with this fiber optics, that hurt us. But they put this new system in, which it's better and it's cheaper. Well, the fiber optics, $100, $125 a month for internet. And this we can do for $59.95, and it works good.
Wow.
So it is slowly coming back. But in that two-story garage, we had to have an office and for them, and so that's where we made up. I put new electricity there, and I'm doing work in there.
So it's habitable.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you want to live there.
No.
But yeah.
It's for
We
garage.
took 5,000 books out of the garage.
Oh my gosh.
It was a mess. I mean, you couldn't walk in it. It was ever full this high.
Goodness sakes.
The upstairs was a mess. Raccoons lived up there. You know, it was, I mean, I got sick. Me and Alex
Yeah.
cleaning that upstairs out. Should have had a mask on and didn't, you know. Yeah, it was ugly. But we got it all done.
So who owns that property then now?
Deb and I.
Oh, you do own it? Okay.
Yeah, we bought it off of Steve.
Okay.
After when the city okayed it, we bought it. We had it appraised, and then we bought it from Steve. I think we've actually had possession of it a little over a year. We've been down there for 2 or 3 years, you know, cleaning.
Well,
But
then-
now it's our baby.
Well, you could have it done then by Christmas, huh?
See, there's 1.5 acres land there.
Well, that's pretty nice.
And
job.
and plus, you go back, you know where the railroad tracks were? By Idle Dutch Center, you know?
Yeah.
That road right there, take a left. There's 1 acre of woods there, back there. Of course, it's landlocked. But my son-in-law, Alex, he owns, that's where all his, of course, see, when we moved, he had my building at the store, so he has to get out of there. So he's bought that down there off of Little John Schatz. It was a mess. And he cleaned all that up. And it so happens, Alex land connects right to that acre. So we just gave that to him, you know.
Sure.
We didn't use it. So that worked out pretty good on that, so.
So I guess what prompted you to liquidate and sell the business? The tire business and all that you had here.
Burnout, probably. And I had an opportunity to sell
It's,
it. You know, that
you
meant,
thought?
yeah. Because if it wasn't sold, I'd still be working, you know, on that. And
The wife said,
it was time. I don't have the patience I used to have, you know.
what
And
my
that
wife says.
you really need patience. I mean, you know, you've been in business all your life, basically, dealing with the public.
Okay.
You've done it all your life, haven't you?
Yep.
You know. And you know what? Most people, this is just my opinion, 99% is great. That 1% can knock you down.
You always have some clinkers.
Oh, yeah. And we got through them,
Yeah.
you know, but I think the good Lord blessed us, you know, because,
So when you sold the business and your wife was obviously very much involved,
oh, yes.
what do you think about, quote, retirement?
Well, she handles it better than I do.
Okay.
Yeah, she, you know, yeah. No, she loves it. We both like it, love it real well. I stay busy, but she's good at just staying. She can stay home for days and doesn't bother her. I have to leave every morning. You know, I don't know why but I've done that all my life.
Routine.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That's part of life.
And I have to do something every day, you know. Now, I don't work 8 or 12 hours a day. If I down there do something, 2 or 3 hours is long enough, you know. We aren't on any time schedule.
That's the nice thing to be.
Yes, yes.
I want to, I can. If I don't, I don't.
Yes. You know what? Also in retirement, which I usually got 5 hours of sleep every night when I worked after Dad died. And now I'm getting 8 hours of sleep.
That's what you ought to have, I guess.
Well, yes, they said what, 7 to 8?
7 to 8. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. No, I think I do like it. I think I'm going to like it real well. Of course, you know, you still have issues, you know. It's just different ones, you know. That's just part of life, isn't it?
Right. I think some of them are very easy to settle, and others are, oh my gosh, they seem like insurmountable.
Yeah, I know. Because at first when I was retired, I'm not going to have anything to worry about. Of course, you're not supposed to worry, but that's not true, is it? Mm-hmm. That's not true. Mm-hmm. It's just different, you know.
And what, with this house now that you're working on, what's your long-range plans? To finish it up and rent it or something?
I'm going to sell it or rent it.
You're not going to move there, huh?
Well, my wife mentioned that.
Imagine that.
As right now, I don't have any plans of moving. We live out at Gulf Lakes. We built the house in 1980, and we moved in, started July of 1980, moved in July 81, had the basement and shelf built, and Dad and I did the rest, basically. So that's where I learned everything, my dad, you know. I didn't realize how smart he was till he was gone. On that. But
they always say your parents sure gained a lot of knowledge between your 20th age and your 25th age.
Isn't that the truth?
Sure
Isn't that the truth? But you know, back then when we built, you know what the interest rate was? People are freaking out over paying 6-7% now. We paid 13.5 for I don't know how many years when we built the house. Didn't bother me one bit. My dad, it bothered. But, you know, that's the way it was back then. If you had money, you could get, what, 16%?
I remember the days of CDs at 15 and 16%.
Yeah.
And people
Yeah, you were right there involved in that, weren't you?
Yeah.
Now, that's unbelievable. That was, what, in the early 80s, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And now people are freaking out over this interest being 6, 9, 8%.
But on the other side, at that time, the prices of groceries and all was much lower than what it is now.
Oh, yeah.
So the living cost, even though that interest rate was there, the cost of living today, I think, is far stretched out over it.
Cost of living it's
a problem.
gas and food. And everybody has to have gas and food every day, you know. So
I don't see anyone with getting hay for their horse.
yeah, and probably and I don't think things won't go down, will they? Stable, just stable.
Somewhere it needs to come down some, and I think.
But
maybe,
will it? I hope it does. But
that
will it?
depends a lot, I think, on the political environment in Washington.
Yeah, well, that's a mess up there. I'm a registered Republican, but you know, I can't say I'm a Trumpster. You know, I'm not going to get in politics, but I'm a registered. My wife's a registered Democrat.
Oh boy, that's a good.
A strong one. I don't get into politics.
That's a dinner conversation, then.
Yeah. See, my mom was a Republican. My dad was a Democrat. And of course, back then, when you turned 18, you had to declare a party. Mm-hmm. My brother, of course, he was 2 years registered as a Democrat. So my mom was a Republican, so I said, I'll just register as a Republican, you know. Now you don't even have to register except for the primaries.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
In your being involved in a business in Marshall, basically your entire life, what might you say about the changes in our town?
Well, downtown in Marshall, I think is beautiful. You know, the city of Marshall, I think, does an excellent job of keeping downtown good, don't you?
Oh, I do.
On that?
And its cleanliness is a big
You
part of
know, remember we used to have parking meters?
it. Sure do.
They looked terrible and got rid of those, and the buildings they all look good to me. It's just, there's mainly no retail business except for bars, you know? And I don't go to bars. But, no, I think Marshall does a good job. The city marshal. I think Mayor Hastings, I think he's done well.
Good job. And he's a good businessman.
Yeah, he's sharp cookie.
Well, it's been a great visit with you. Now, I'm going to ask you one final question. You talked a lot about your background, business, Marshall. If you were in some other, maybe even other country, you said, I'm from Marshall, Illinois, and they said, where on earth is that? What would you tell them and why it might be a good place to visit?
I basically tell them what you mean, where it's at,
Yeah,
on I-70 by Terre Haute, Indiana.
a little bit about it.
Marshall has two beautiful parks. You know, we got Lincoln Trail and Mill Creek, and both of them are fantastic.
With some water in them, too.
Yeah, there is, and we haven't had much rain. But I don't know. The only thing I see for a young couple, it's hard to live here, you know, unless you taught, you know. We do have TRW, or ZF now. And what if that left? You know, that's what they employ, 1,000 people?
It's about 1,000, I think.
And that would kill us, wouldn't it? And I don't see us, seems like this one thing, the city people, they worry about retail, but not industry. Look at Paris, those 4 industries coming. We could have had those. We're right by a railroad, by an interstate. I don't understand that. Do you? But no, I love Marshall. I've been here all my life.
Yeah.
The only time I haven't been here when I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, down at Spartan School of Aeronautics.
Would you care to be there now?
No. I want to be right here. You know, my wife, she wants to travel. And we went to South Dakota and we do a few things, but I want to be right here by the Wabash. I love Marshall. You know, nice quiet town. We don't really have problems here, do we? Do you think?
There's probably a few, but I think they're really not too well known.
Yeah.
And you don't have the things that are in the city now with all of the migrant things and fentanyl and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Some of these beautiful cities are just disasters.
And the shootings, even in Terre Haute, you know.
The only thing that kind of bothers me is some of that going to be
Coming here.
drifting into, hey, here's a nice little town. We don't have any legal problems with, drop in there.
Well,